I'm here with Linda. Linda is a mom to 7 with a blended family. You and Lyle have been married for 13 years, we think.
Yes, last we checked.
And so he brought 3 children from a previous marriage. You brought 2 from a previous marriage, and you've since had 2 kids together.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So when you first got married, you said you've spent about 10 years of your marriage in different places. You in the United States, or him in the United States, you in Canada.
In Canada, that's right.
Because of custody laws and agreements, right? So tell me, how do you blend a family when you're living in 2 different countries? What does that look like?
So we made a lot of sacrifices early on to make sure our kids had everything they needed from their other parents, and so that their lives stayed as consistent and as stable and fulfilling as possible. So I had a couple of years, and Lyle had lots of years of driving. And so I think he has a bit of PTSD. He doesn't like to drive long distances anymore. But we were both on board with it, and we were happy to do that. It definitely was unconventional. But we were so committed to our family. And we had a great marriage right from the start. And so we recognized that this was relatively a short period of time compared to being together forever, that we would make these sacrifices. So we did it, and we grew a lot in that time, and there were lots of challenges, but lots of blessings that came from it. So
Right.
yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So, I think one of the challenges of having a blended family is probably introducing a new parent figure and kind of figuring out that dynamic that you now have stepchildren and he's stepdad to your kids, and so how do you do that when
How did that
you live
work?
somewhere else?
We actually, this is even more comical. So when we also had a triplex at the time, so Lyle lived in one of those units, and it was a 1-bedroom unit, because normally it was just for him when he was working. So it was 1 bedroom with a tiny kitchen and a decent sized living room, but a 1-bedroom. So in the summer, all of our kids would come together, 7 kids, and often his kids would bring their dog in this 1 bedroom. So what my husband did was he built 6 bunk beds into the wall of the living room. So they each had a bed. Our little one was small at the time, and he could sleep on the floor. He went from a playpen to the floor, And then he built cubbies that they would each keep their stuff. So for 2 to 3 months in the summer, we were all together, not only all together, but all together in a 1-bedroom.
Oh my God.
So we just always made it a priority to spend as much time together as we could for holidays and whatnot. Lyle was more present in my kids' life, meaning physically, because he was spending half his time in Canada. But I think we had really open hearts, and so we loved all of our kids. I always hated when we got introduced, because people would make a separation, and we just call them all our kids. There's no step-kids or half siblings or anything. This is my sister, this is my mom, this is my brother, and that's how we roll.
Oh, that's really cool. So what I think people from the outside who look in on blended families, you can see kind of where the challenges might arise, what and where the benefits could be as well. So what was unexpected to you that was a consequence of having a blended family?
So I think it was interesting. Probably one of the hardest things is how other people perceive you, because I remember one of our daughter's weddings, the in-laws hadn't dealt a lot, I think, with blended families or even divorce, and so I think she's as sweet as can be, but I think she kind of thought of us as other, and I had always felt like mom as, mom number 2. So yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges, was just other people not knowing how deeply you feel about each other, because step almost connotes something negative or something off to the side, and not the deep loving relationships that we've experienced. So that's probably the only challenge I'd say that we've really faced. I mean, obviously little things come up, but
Sure.
That's what I would say.
That makes sense. So do you have go-to advice for other families who are blended or just kind of starting that process?
I listened to a podcast recently that said it takes 7 years to really start to fully blend families, and I thought that is really interesting, and I think wise in many levels, because it takes time to heal the trauma and then connect, and you're creating something brand new. And so I think just being patient with the process, because not forcing closeness or relationships, just let them happen very organically, and just being patient with what they're experiencing, because I don't come from a family of divorce, and so watching our kids, overcome and work through that has been amazing. And I think, it stands to reason that they had anger or frustration or sadness or all of these things in the beginning and even throughout, and to just let them feel those things and to let them experience them, and to just be there by their side to kind of help them through that, and not to judge too harshly everything that they're experiencing, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
And to just be as present as, when you're coming into a new child's life. I mean, to let them gauge the dynamic between you, and not to force something or expect that something should happen more quickly than it does. I think patience, that's just paramount in that whole situation, is just patient with yourself, patience with all of the children in what they're experiencing individually, and then you have to be patient with the exes as well. So I think patience is the universal tagline for that.
That makes sense. I love that, though, that you have to validate all the things that they're feeling and that you're feeling, and that all of those things are valid and normal and
well, I think too, and just learning to forgive very quickly, because a lot of times you're just a byproduct of what they're experiencing, and it's not that they are thinking terribly of you or whatever. They're just having their own journey, which is really difficult, and so not personalizing things too much in those times when they are having challenges.
Yeah,
I think that's good to remember.
Okay, so you've been through the teen years and the college years, and now you've done some weddings and you have a grandbaby.
Yeah.
So all of the hard work that you did in those relationships and with your ex and Lyle's ex-wife, and does that make those kind of big moments and big transitions go smoother now that you're so many years down the road, or does that just bring up a whole different host of emotions?
So that's a really good question. I think Lyle and I have both been really unified in that we try not to allow the challenges of what the ex-spouse might be going through impact our experience. I think our first wedding was a little hard in that way, just because you're trying to find your place as a step. So far they've been Lyle's 3 kids, and so stepmom particularly, because as a mom, or me anyways as a stepmom, you love them, they're your children, and
sure.
And so when other people aren't always, recognizing that, it can be, there were some tears after the first wedding, but I quickly learned, it's not about me, it's about them, and it's sometimes a difficult situation for them as well.
Sure.
To find where you stand and where you are and your role in contributing and stuff. And so I just tried to really kind of take myself out of the equation and realize, like, we are here for you. Whatever you need, we'll support you, but it's not important that I be in this photo or, And our kids have been so great about it. But I had to kind of take a little bit of the ego out and realize, that's okay, because it's a difficult situation and everyone's navigating the best they can. So for our last one, we met our daughter-in-law's parents. Lyle and I met them on one occasion, and she met them on a separate occasion, just so that she could have her time and fully, present herself in a way that isn't being impacted by our energy being there.
Yeah.
And then everyone kind of makes their own assessments of the situation and goes with that. So we try to just be on the down low, the peacemakers, and roll with whatever happens. And I find that works best for our kids, and that's the most important thing.
All right, after some technical difficulties and a wardrobe change, we are
Yes.
back at it for part 2. So last half we talked a lot about your blended family. You have said, and I want to get this right, you told me that you have seen your older children through crises of faith, mental illness, resistant to things that you were teaching, and other life challenges. Tell me what that looks like for you as a mother to respect them dealing with their own things and loving them through it while really not agreeing with some of their life choices or knowing that what they're doing will not make them happy.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
My own journey to where I am today with faith was not like perfectly smooth. And so I think early on as a mom, I realized that this is their journey. Whatever it is, it's their journey. And so, there's been scary moments. Our son's been hospitalized a couple of times, and obviously when they deviate from things that are safe, you worry. But I think we want to be the place where they can always come even through those hard times. And so we've tried to just let them know that we don't agree with certain choices, but that we'll always love them. And so, we love the kids that are struggling as much as the kids that are doing what we would always want them to do. And I think that's how our Heavenly Father loves us, and that's what we're striving to do, is to love the way He loves. So I think the hardest time has probably been where we fear for their safety. So I try to remain, like I said, the constant, so that they're the ones who are having the hard time, and I'm not adding to that by overreacting or coming down on them or being judging or mishandling the situation.
So I would guess, in hearing you talk about this, that in order to be okay in those moments and kind of work through them, that you would need to be in a place where you don't take their actions personally and as a reflection of your mothering and your value as a mother. I feel like that's really where I'm at in my mothering right now, is trying to separate my 4-year-old's obedience from my worth and effectiveness as a mom.
Oh my gosh.
And that's really hard to do.
It
so
is
how do you,
so hard to do.
Do you
and
feel like you have tools for how you got to that place?
I still fall into that trap.
Yeah.
Our youngest son is probably our most, He probably gets in trouble more than any of our others.
Great.
And we thought, oh my goodness, we should have this mastered by now. We have 7 kids and 5 adult kids. We should know all of the ins and outs of parenting. And, you know, when he has a hard day or a hard week, I still sometimes I'm like, am I doing this right? But I think it does bring you a lot of hope as we see our older kids and to see who they become and realize, okay, this is a short moment in time where they're coming through a stage or working through a certain issue. But if we're consistent, 9 times out of 10, it will all work out in the end, and they'll become these wonderful, productive, kind of gaining perspective, I think, is
the
really,
ability to kind of zoom out.
Yeah, which is so hard as a parent because everything is just intensified, and it seems like that day is everything. And so our older 3 are 2 girls and a boy, and then we have a girl and a boy, and each of them struggled with their siblings, you know, fought a lot. And now they're the best of friends. Like both sets have just really, really best friend relationships with their siblings. And so in those moments when our 2 currently are not getting along, we kind of can zoom out and say, look at where our kids are now. Like they're these wonderful people that we admire and love, and it's all going to work out, and kind of look at the big picture rather than, you know, the small minute details of the day. But it's hard. I think like it's an ongoing battle as a mom not to tie your effectiveness to their behavior. Like I think that's just a given as a mom. I don't think it's an easy thing, but I think it's part of our refining process to remember that they have their agency, and a lot of times those hard things about them are what become their greatest gifts one day. You know, their stubbornness or their tenacity or their, you know, ability to, you know, do something meticulously, you know, and those things can drive us crazy in the moment. But as we stand back and realize one day this might be what will make them a great CEO or a wonderful manager or, you know, a very dedicated spouse, or, you know, it's easy to see how those things are challenging right now, but they can become the best part of them one day. So that's some things that we try. I do often look at our older kids as like reassurance, like these 2 are going to turn out as well. Keep the faith.
I love that perspective though. That's great. Speed round. Linda, what's your favorite sound?
My favorite sound is when I hear FaceTime or my phone ring and I know it's one of the older kids calling to talk, to tell about their lives and ask questions and just get love and connection from me. So
Cool. What's your least favorite sound?
Fighting, arguing of any sort, but especially from the kids.
Yeah. What's your favorite word?
Connection. I love to feel deeply connected with people. I like to really get in and know people intimately, so I'd say connection.
That's cool. What do you know?
I know that I have value and that my Heavenly Father has entrusted me to perform certain things to make a difference in this world. So I'd say that's one thing I know.
Cool. What do you want to learn?
Oh, I think I said I want to learn life coaching. Yeah. So that's something I'm dabbling with the idea about. So we'll see if that comes to fruition.
Cool. Linda, what scares you?
So hurting people or if I've accidentally offended people. I try really hard not to do that, but I know occasionally that just happens, and that just weighs on me so badly if I've hurt someone.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Tell me about a mother that inspires you.
So my friend Emily is an amazing mom. She has 4 kids. Our 2 youngest kids are best friends with her 2 oldest kids. And a couple years back, I was her relief study president, and she was going through a cancer journey with her youngest son, Atticus. Mm-hmm. And she's just been the pillar of strength and faith and courage and patience both in her trials and just as a parent. So I really love her and she inspires me.
That's cool. Linda, what are you good at?
So I would say I'm good at fitness and I'm good at habits. So if I put my mind to a certain thing, it's going to happen on very regular intervals. So I write my journal every night. I work out every day. So if I create a habit, it's going to be pretty much fixed in stone.
Wow.
So I guess that's something I'm good at.
Thank you, Linda, so much for doing this.
Oh, thank you.